So you want us to record the bits before we start talking? Why is that?
Yeah, I think so,
In case
yeah.
we say something funny.
Yeah, just in the unlikely event of that.
This is the Tyre Kickers. Classic car chat with Max and Matt.
Hello there, we're back with a new episode, and my word, it's a big one. We're 30, yes, 30 episodes old.
Yes, that's 30 episodes where we've disagreed and disregarded each other's views about classic cars. I mean, it's lucky we've got this far, to be honest.
But here we are, and the verbal jousting will continue. So welcome to this special party-themed 30th episode with jelly and ice cream, or in our world, axle grease and Swarfega.
The Tyre Kickers.
Hands scrubbed, we'll stock up on our fantasy garage. What classic cars would we buy if money was no object?
Also, car show etiquette. What are the do's and don'ts when showing off your mechanical beast to complete strangers?
And in a variation of one of our regular features, let's try see it and don't want it. In other words, the classics we'd never buy.
So stick your party hat on, floor the throttle, and let's get to the dizzy speeds of 30 for this, the 30th episode of the Tyre Kickers.
You're listening to the Tyre Kickers with Max and Matt.
Right, let's get this party started.
Whoa.
Bearing in mind, it's only you and me celebrating an arbitrary milestone that absolutely no one cares about. I have some news.
Really?
Yeah, no one is turning up to this party. So I'm improvising with some special sound effects, like this cocktail party background atmosphere from the 1970s.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Sounds like the mood has dramatically changed. Where do I put my keys? In this bowl?
Oh no, it's not that kind of party.
Oh, sorry, I'm clearly at the wrong event. What else is going on for a party?
Well, if you look out of the window from the 54th floor of the Tyre Kickers World HQ, I'm starting with a bang with some 30th episode fireworks.
Ooh. Ah. Got any sparklers?
I think you need to try a bit harder with this, right?
Okay, well, I'll stick my party hat on. Are you happy with that? Can you hand out these vol au vents that I've got here? I've got some paper plates around here somewhere.
Hang on, in a minute, this is big. First, they've made Concorde airworthy again for
really?
a 30th episode celebratory fly past.
There it comes. Oh, brilliant. Is that Concorde or is that an MGB that's been straight parked? I can't tell the difference.
And also, church bells are ringing across the UK in our honour, although this one does sound a bit like Big Ben, Nick from the News at 10.
That's because it is Big Ben, Nick from the News at 10. Okay, enough. Get all the sound effects party guests out of our non-existent party. Bring it into this right now.
You're listening to the Tyre Kickers with Max and Matt.
So, sorry about all of that. Let's celebrate properly by debating something we've never talked about before on this show. And that is our fantasy garage. Now, I think we all dream about this. What classic cars would we buy if we won the lottery or had a job shorting stocks or inventing AI?
Now, I reckon all of us do this in our heads. So how about a top 3 fantasy garage, but they have to be usable and daily drivable. So no pointless Ferrari GTOs for 30 million quid that you couldn't park in a supermarket.
Yeah, that's a good point. Realistic classic cars. Now, before we go down this rabbit hole, I wanted to get the straw poll of real people. I knew we were going to talk about this on this show. So early Sunday morning, I dropped in at a breakfast car meet in a village in Surrey, about an hour from London, to test the water. I went in search, Max, of some proper classic car drivers to ask them what their fantasy classic would be. Well, I found Harry, who's just pulled up in this beautiful Aston. I'm not an Aston expert, Harry. Tell me what one this is, because this would be a fantasy car for most people.
Yeah, it's a DB24 Mark II. 1956.
Wow, how long you had that?
It's not mine, it's my dad's actually.
Okay.
I'd love to own it. But
well, what's your fantasy car then? What car would be, like, money, no object, your pin-up car, poster car on the wall, what would it be?
I'd take a DB3 Zagato.
Why that car?
I just think they're beautiful. But enough poke to drive on daily roads and keep up with modern traffic. It's kind of the perfect, not everyday car, but weekend car, I suppose.
Well, I'm now with Max in his red 1967 2+2 Series 1, you said, didn't you?
Yes.
But interesting, your ultimate fantasy car is not one of these sort of 60s pin-ups. It's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sort of more of an 80s era of the Rally Group B stuff. It would be a Lancia, Delta S4 or Hintergrali, you know, that sort of...
Was that your pin-up car on the wall?
I'd say so, yeah. I grew up watching Rally.
Well, I found Andy in his 1962 MGA, one of the favourites of ours, old English white, wire wheels, lovely stuff. I would say this is a pin-up car for a lot of people, Andy, but what's your fantasy car?
My fantasy car, well, quite opposite from the MGA. It's the GT40, the Ford.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, just as a pure American muscle car, which is not really my thing, but that's the exception.
So I'm here with Roger and his nice shiny red 1988 Porsche 911 with a whale tail on the back. But we're talking fantasy classics. If you could have one car, Roger, what would it be?
Well, sadly, because I'm boring, I guess, I love the Aston DB5, the sort of Goldfinger era.
Why is that boring?
Well, no, I do. I love it, of course. I can't afford
that's
one,
the
but
ultimate,
absolutely. And then driving over Switzerland, and probably with some gorgeous blonde would be marvellous. That would make my day.
If you're going to go for a fantasy, you need to go the whole way.
You do, absolutely.
Now, Roger there extending his fantasy slightly beyond our remit, Max. But like I said,
steady, Roger, calm down.
So let's do this in reverse order, Max. I'm going to pick cars for different reasons, though. One is going to be sporty, one's going to be for effortless summer cruising, and the other's going to be for the rest of the time. I'm not necessarily going to do this in like 3, 2, 1. But here's that third case scenario, the effortless roofed cruiser. And I think you're going to be annoyed that I've nicked this one. It's a 1969 Rolls-Royce Corniche fixed-head coupe, British class, coach built, automatic wafter, and at this price, actually, it's not really that much of a fancy. Let me throw this up on your screen now. What do you make of this beauty?
I first of all, I'm interested because that's 29,990. Now, these a few years ago, they were nothing less than 50 grand. So this is obviously taken a bit of a knock in the market. Secondly, I've just noticed that it has or did have wing mirrors, but somebody's replaced the wing mirrors with flag holders. I really like these Corniches. I think they give that kind of silver shadow a unique spin to it because it just looks very different. And you're unlikely to have got this as a wedding car. I think that's amazingly cheap, to be honest. I'm trying to look through the photographs for the problems. The paint is a little bit of bubbles of rust on it, but the interior is really nice. It's got the Chippendale dashboard because it's an early one. I think that's actually quite a good choice. I'm surprised, to be honest, that you've made that because it's both intelligent and quite stylish. Not words I'd associate with you.
I've picked this, and actually we've done some AI mock-ups of our cars. We'll put these up on Instagram so you can see it. Because what I'm thinking is like a house in the country with a garage that pops up, and I've got 3 cars that I can choose from, and I can, depending on the day and what I feel like and where I'm going, I can pick different cars for different reasons. When we talked about fantasy garage, there is a temptation to go, oh, that's only 30 grand. I'm not going to pick that. That's too cheap. Well, actually, that's the car. I mean, you probably, if I did win the lottery or invented a new AI and suddenly was rolling money, then probably I would shop around for the best one of these I could find. But that fits the bill for me. I think that it's just super class, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of, you could be a TV executive from the 1960s, a kind of Lou Grade figure swanning around smoking a cigar in that. I think that's quite a good choice, actually. I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, you're a bit annoyed, actually, that I've nicked it off you. What have you got then? Because here we go. Let's go down
What do you mean, here we go? What does that mean?
I mean,
here we go.
Well, basically, you sort of do a rolling PhD in classic cars from your house, don't you? Sort of sitting, researching, looking at everything, all the details, all the infinite details. So your 3 classic cars, I'm thinking, wow, here we go. This is going to be the ultimate, isn't it? It's going to be the ultimate fantasy. So what have you got?
My third would be a toss-up between a Series 1 fixed-head E-Type, but I've had an E-Type, not a Series 1 fixed-head, so I don't really want to go back in that direction, or a Porsche 930 Turbo. Now, here's one for sale. I'm going to throw this up on your screen. This is the ultimate driver's car, I think, because it takes some mastering. It can also kill you because it was called a Widowmaker because of that oversteer that you could get if the turbo kicks in. This is a 1984 one, so it's kind of mid. I think, when do they make them? They made them between 75 and 89 was the last one. So this is a kind of mid one. It's still a 4-speed, not the 5-speed, but it's black on black. And I think a 930 Turbo, black on black, is just an ultimate stealth car. And it also looks like that kind of thing that was on your bedroom wall as a poster in the 1980s. 930 Turbos, great cars, tricky to drive, but good to master. So it's one of those cars that I think you would really appreciate taking out for a drive because it's not easy. You have to get on the turbo boost all the time and you have to concentrate, and it does have that risk of certain death. So those things, I think, make it quite an interesting car to pick and drive.
Now, you do like your Porsches, but I've got a question for you. And I want you to think, like, before you answer this. Obviously, this is the Porsche where the values have gone bonkers, isn't it? Recently. Yeah. If this was still 25 grand or 30 grand, would you still be as excited about it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I absolutely love these because they've got that whiff of danger about them, because you really do need to know your onions when you're driving them, and you need to be prepared that it is a bit tricky on the limit. Actually, it's just tricky in the wet, full stop.
And the reason it's the Widowmaker is just because it's very, very twitchy at the back, is it?
Yeah, well, the turbo cuts in. Modern turbos, they're kind of on all the time, sort of above, 1200, 1400 revs. These have a particular point where it's kind of off, then it's suddenly on. There's no kind of gradual introduction of turbo boost. It's just on, a bit like that, a bit like a clap. And if you're going around a corner at the time when the boost comes in, you obviously get a load more power to the rear wheels. And if it's not balanced and set up right, it's going to spin off, particularly in the wet. They are lethal in the wet. I don't think I'd ever drive it in the wet, to be honest. But in the dry, I think that's a pretty good car to have.
So it needs to be in the dry with good tyres on. Picture 10, I think, makes this car very usable, if you can scroll to that one. This is obviously, to describe this is a black on black, as Max says. So I think a black 911 with black wheels with silver sort of outer rims, and is it a whale tail on the back? What would you call that? It's like a tray table, isn't it?
Yeah, there were two different types of rear spoiler on the 911. I don't want to get too detailed, but this is the turbo version of that rear spoiler. So it is the classic whale tail. You can have a spoiler on the back of these without the turbo, which is the kind of 1980s yuppie spec. But this is the turbo spoiler. It's got the proper turbo seats, and there's some subtle details in the turbo that just made it a bit different from all the others. And that's why I really appreciate it, because it's Bogo 1980s G-body 911, but turned up to 10.
Well, like I say, it's very usable, because you take this to a car meet in a pub. That spoiler on the back is a very handy tray table to put your bacon roll and your coffee on, or your burger and chips. It renders that car quite useful.
That's why they were so popular with the yuppies, because there's lots of pictures in the 1980s of people standing around with big hair and shoulder pads with champagne glasses balanced on the T-tray spoiler. I mean, that's part of the kind of turbo's appeal. It was just something a bit flash, and that's why I like it.
Okay, so while you're doing donuts on that, let me bring up my second choice. This is my sporty choice. Now, I kind of wrestled with this because there's so many contenders that you could put into a sporty car, and I think it'd have to be a roadster for me of some sort. And it's also probably, I thought about it more, it had to be a V8. So naturally, on my shortlist was an AC Cobra, but they're always got the exhaust down the side and the stripes down them and the roll cage. And so I thought, actually, there must be a Cobra that looks classier. And there's the 289, isn't there? Which is the earlier one, which is more of like an Austin Healey kind of look to it. It's kind of very classic. Let me throw this up and see what you think. I think this is a bit of class. I mean, a real one is knocking on 800 grand, and that sort of gets it out of our remit. So this is an Evocation. It's an AC Cobra 289 Evocation by Hawk. And this is a small block 289, 4.7 litre V8. It's 1965 registered, so it's just been nut and bolt restored, hasn't it? Essentially, is that?
Well, I think Hawk used to base them on an MGB. I don't know whether they still do, but there used to be MGB kits and stuff. But Hawk were the probably best, I think, of the kits, because they weren't the kind of big spoilers and big chairs and white stripes. They were the more subtle early Cobras, like you said. And this is a really nice one, because if you look at the pictures and you look at the interior, that's always the giveaway on these Cobra kits, because sometimes you can see the kind of hint of Ford Sierra that it came from, but this one's got a beautiful interior. It's got the proper Jaeger and Smith styles.
Yeah, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of kit cars again. Oh God, not again. But it's just the look that I want. So again, in my fantasy garage, I would shop around for the best one of these I could find. But it's just that look. I mean, what are your thoughts about that? Having that grunt of that V8, but having the beauty of that 289 sort of early Cobra look, which is very streamlined, not a lot of bling on it at all, very unbling. Has it got any bumpers on it, actually? So you've got very small bumpers on it, hasn't it? And then the inside, as you say, it's all Smith styles and very kind of roadsterish and classy. Is that something you like the look of? Because I think that I'd want to take that out.
Yeah, I think that's really nice. It's in a kind of like a dark blue. It's got the right engine, the Ford 289 4.7 litre V8, and it's got the right bits on it. It's got disc brakes, which will help. It's got suspension from Hawk's tubular design, which is great. And I think it's one of those cars that you could use all the time. it's only the problem of turning up at the petrol station and somebody saying, "Is it a kit, mate?"
Yeah, that's it. I'm not that bothered about it because I just think, as I say, the real thing's 800 grand. So unless I've got 800 grand kicking around, I'll go and find the real thing. But then you get too worried about using it. We did talk about usable classics we could take down the pub, didn't we? I hope you can see where I'm going with this. Is that I've got the Rolls Coupe to be a nice coupe on sort of grey days, or just if I want to just take a longer drive. And then if I open up the garage door and I fancy something a bit sporty, I've got this.
Good choice.
Okay, so I've got one more to go, but first you're up next. What's your number 2?
Right, number 2 in my fantasy garage on the silver podium is this BMW E9 Coupe from 1968 to 1975. But there's a big but here. It has to be one of the rare 500 right-hand drive CSLs that was sold only in the UK. Now here's one, a UK right hooker in my exact UK City Pack spec. So it's minus all the Batmobile wings and in a fantastic field blue with a black interior. I think that just
nice.
Looks the business.
These
E9 coupes are gorgeous.
Yeah, I've seen one in the flesh, and they are very, very nice. This is quite classy. Why have you gone for this? This is quite, I would say, understated.
The CSL that came to the UK was a specific one because CSLs elsewhere could have the big Batmobile wings and stuff and the big stripes. But for the UK, they made them into a city pack, which they put the electric windows and the glass back in, and they put some soundproofing back in, and they made them a bit closer to a CSI. So one, they're very, very rare, these UK CSLs. And two, I just think it's not too shouty. That E9 is a beautiful shape. It was designed by Wilhelm Hofmeister, who gave us the Hofmeister kink. I just think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous car, the E9s. And I think because it's got that racing pedigree, I mean, they raced in the European Touring Car Championships all the way through the 1970s. So I think they're a really cool, understated car. They're not obvious. I don't think people who aren't into their cars would think, wow, that's a massive kind of showy classic car, a bit like your Cobra. But I think it's a really subtle one. And they've got bits of them I just love. They've got the BMW Motorsport steering wheel. They've got the Shield bucket seats. They've got the chrome eyebrows on the wheel arches. I think these CSLs are just absolutely perfect.
Chef's kiss. Just to describe it, it's imagine a 70s BMW 5 Series, and then imagine that in light blue, and then imagine it's a coupe, and that's just sort of what we're looking at here on the screen. It's very old school BMW. It's quite classy. It's quite understated, as Max says. But it's a really, really nice coupe. But it's the rarity of these that makes them very expensive. I mean, this was 160 grand we're looking at now. And they are very rare. You don't see them very often. I've only seen one in the flesh, and they don't just turn up. They don't just rock up to shows. But that's really, really nice. That's a kind of understated class. I like that. I'd put that in my garage.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't think you liked these, but that's quite surprising. I'm actually surprised.
No, I think
it's a bit
really
too
nice.
Subtle for you, isn't it? It's not quite loud enough.
I just don't. Well, it's not so much that. It's not a loud thing because I don't really like the loud thing. I mean, it's a use
Cobra?
case. Well, yeah, but
The Cobra's pretty loud.
It is pretty loud. But yeah, all right, I'll go with that one. But it's a use case. That's going to be my loud sporty car, and then the other two are not. So with this, I don't know what I'd do with it. That's my only issue with it. Well, what would I do? I'd probably have to replace the rolls, and for me, that doesn't really do it. But it's obviously something that you kind of revere.
A bit like the 930 Turbo, you'd absolutely drive the backside off it because it's a driver's car. They do handle really nicely. I mean, they're not particularly fast, but they've got a lovely straight six engine. So it's a kind of driving thing, to be honest. These are all the ones I've picked are kind of like flat out driver's cars.
But also, you could use it, couldn't you? I mean, you could go away for the weekend in that. It's not going to be too constricting. You can still chuck a couple of bags in the back and stuff. So you could use it, and you could do a supermarket run if you wanted to. Although you would park it like right in the corner, wouldn't you?
3 miles away. I'm not letting anybody with a trolley near that.
Exactly. Right. Well, here's my last choice. So I've gone for that Rolls-Royce coupe, the Corniche. I've gone for the Cobra. So that's my sort of sporty car. And then I've gone for one that we've talked about endlessly on this show, is the Mercedes Pagoda. But I've gone for one that actually, if I did have a massive windfall, this is where I'd be shopping. I'd be on the way to Cardiff and I'd be on the way to Hemels, because they do this. Let me throw it up on your screen. You'll be aware of this, Max. This is the newborn nut and bolt Pagoda. So this is a Mercedes Pagoda, 2-seater coupe from the 60s with rectangular headlights. But they do a nut and bolt job. And this nut and bolt job, you do pay for every nut and bolt. But, essentially, a lot, yeah. Essentially, you are getting a factory or better than factory. But they do it. It's like having a new car built for you. It is expensive. You were talking about fully dismantling and rebuilding the car here, nut and bolt time. It takes a year to do, to a strict schedule. You can choose a colour and trim. You can choose other things as well. There is an options list, surprise, surprise. You can polish the engine or keep it like the factory did. The headlamps can be styled US or EU spec. You can add aircon, which you never had. You can have heated seats and a better stereo, and headrest, wind deflector, white wall tires, all that sort of stuff. And they share the experiences you do it on a personal portal with regular updates and photos. So this is a real kind of VIP experience of having a classic car built, but it does come at a price. You're talking about £215,000. So it's a lot of money, but wow, what a car to open your garage to.
Block capital B-U-T. But it's too perfect. It's too perfect. I mean, every bit of chrome is shiny. Every paint surface is fantastic. Every crease on the lever is absolutely gorgeous.
Nice.
But it's too perfect. It's a bit like, a Californian's teeth. It's just too good. And this is why I slightly fall down on this one, is that it's too perfect. It doesn't really tell a story. It doesn't really have a life. I love pagodas like you do, but I quite like them a bit battered and a bit careworn and a bit tired because they've kind of got all that character and they've lived their life of 50, 60 years. This one to me is just a bit like it's like a sequel in a film that's not quite as good as the original because they've thought about it too much.
Okay, so it's a bit of sort of a Monaco car. Is that what you mean? It's sort of, you pose in it and you don't really care about it. You're not interested in the story about it.
Well, as a terrible car snob, as you know, I would think that would be that would be bought by people who don't know anything about classic cars because it's the kind of perfect dream classic car, a pagoda, isn't it? So I would worry that it's kind of a civilian's classic car because you don't really know that much about it. And for me, that puts me off slightly. I'll just go and buy a pagoda for about 100,000, I think, and live with the dents and the scratches and the worn leather because that's a bit cooler.
Yeah, but wouldn't you? I mean, I've seen one of these in the flesh. They had one at Mercedes-Benz World, and it was wow. And I didn't walk around and go, I couldn't drive that because people would think I don't know anything about classic cars. I think that's a bit of an overthinking.
Welcome to my world.
Whereas I think if I bought a pagoda, the prices have come down on them. If I bought a 60 grand pagoda and the seats weren't right, and I had the money to do it and had the budget to do it, I'd change the seats. So,
but isn't that the fun? Isn't having somebody else do it all for you? Is a bit like, I've got the finished product, and where's the fun about thinking about it, going online, finding bits, that kind of stuff?
You and I aren't the market for this, really, because this is a market, as you say.
Got the money, that's why.
Well, no, number one, but also, as you say, it's probably not a purchase for somebody who lives, sleeps, eats, and breathes classic cars. It's just something to park in your second house or your, for your holiday home or use because you just fancy it or you've got a city bonus. It's a city bonus car, this really, isn't it?
Exactly.
It is a pin-up car. I mean, let's not confuse the matter. This car is amazing. Hemmels do a fantastic job on it, and the Mercedes Pagoda is a good car. But I get what you're saying. Part of the hobby, part of the reason that we've managed 30 episodes of getting here is there's stuff to talk about when it comes to classic cars because they're not perfect. They weren't perfect out the factory, a lot of them. And then the part of the joy of having one is thinking about them, isn't it? And solving problems and cracking problems. And I think, as we'll get to in the listener reaction, one of our listeners was talking about, when they go out in their car, they, it's almost like a mindfulness thing because they forget the normal life because they're now worried about what's wrong with their car or they've got to concentrate on the car and drive it. And if it's too perfect, then maybe you're not, you lose all of that, don't you? You lose the hobby, essentially. This isn't a hobby car, is it?
No, it's a trophy car because life isn't perfect, but this is perfect. And so you're kind of thinking, well, I don't have to deal with the oil dripping out of it and I don't have to deal with it breaking down on the side of the road. But that is the essence of what we like.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think, as I say, Hemmels do a fantastic job. It is a great car. It's probably too fantasy, actually, to be in our fantasy garage. So can I still have a Pagoda, but can I just go for a cheaper one?
Yeah, and we can talk about those endlessly because I actually found one the other day, so I must show it to you in the next episode. Right, my number one car, you've had your number one, which is the Hemmels Pagoda. My number one isn't really super rare, but I think the best looking car ever made. Big call. Swooping lines, mid-mounted engine, 70s cool, almost 150 miles an hour top speed from a screaming V6. I give you...
Is it a Morris Marina?
You just ruined my build-up. You know that, don't you? I'm going to have to go back and do it all over again.
Is it a Dino?
Hey! Ferrari 246 Dino. Possibly I may have mentioned this before, but I think it's the prettiest car in the world. Here's one on your screen now in Ferrari red, beautifully lit. I think that's just about perfect as a classic car.
It's got the dials out of a Citroen GS.
Oh, listen, this is Ferrari's first mid-engine car. It's really important. It's one of Sergio Pininfarini's favourite designs. Look at it. Look at the slim door pillars, the buttresses that end up in those upturned curvy rear wings, the low narrow nose. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's got a Ferrari V6 that had all that kind of racing pedigree. Don't look at the dials.
I think I'm looking at the seats now instead. This is one I like. I like the Dinos. I think this is the point where I sort of stopped liking Ferraris. After this point, when the wedgie ones come in,
the 308 GT4 came after this, so yeah, okay.
Yeah, I kind of glaze over at those. This and all the ones before, wow. But, I mean, and the Dino's not silly money, is it?
I mean, this one is 385,000.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, that's quite a lot because Dinos are going for around sort of 3 to 325, I suppose, for a decent one. I think this one's been super restored. And if we're talking fantasy cars, you could take that everywhere. You could go on the south of France holiday, for example. You could go anywhere in that car and you could have a great time in it.
Your south of France holiday is just going to be like a car transporter with a load of cars on, because you're talking about driving so many cars down there. It's just an easier way to do it. Just whack them all on a lorry and drive them down. What is it about the Dino? Was this your poster car? Did you have this as a sort of pin-up as a kid? Did you have it in top trumps? When did you start noticing it?
When I was 11, my dad's friend Brian, who had one of these Dinos, took me for a ride in it. It was just absolutely amazing. I can still remember it really vividly from all those years ago, 20. You can sit in the passenger seat, the noise, the smell, just the feel of it. You sit so low in it. Probably because I was 11, so I couldn't see how it went over. But you really are, living that car. You strap it on and it's so curvy and beautiful. It was just stunning. I do remember as an 11-year-old thinking, oh my God, I've just got to get one of these cars. I haven't because they're so expensive. But this is the ultimate fantasy for me. I'd happily sell cars and livers and left arms and stuff to kind of get this car because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is a beautiful car, and I think it is an iconic car. And it's definitely a top trumps car, isn't it, in terms of style, performance. It's got everything in a perfect package, isn't it? No, that's a great car. I mean, you've got three quite sporty cars there, haven't you? I mean, I suppose the BMW Coupe is less so. Does that give you the variety in your garage, do you think?
I think so. I mean, it's interesting because I looked at yours and I saw the Corniche and went, I've dropped a bit of a thing here because do I want something wafty? But I think for these fantasy cars, for me, it's about the drive. It's about that ultimate Sunday morning where the roads are empty and you can just go for a really good drive in a good sounding, good handling, good looking car. And I've probably covered that too many times. I haven't really got a kind of waftmobile. But when I was putting this together, these are the ones that are in the forefront of my mind at the moment. So that's just how my mind spewed it out. On a different day, it could be a different thing. But at the moment, these are the three. Because I'm really into the driving side of these. And I think those three would just keep you entertained for years.
Well, that's the beauty of classic cars as well, is that it's all different strokes, different folks, isn't it? We all got different things. And I think, you can see the difference. Yours is more performance-led than mine. I mean, the Cobra in mine is probably a bit of a wild card, and probably I'll be happy with an Austin Healey, to be honest.
I think you might be stuck in a kind of magazine photo shoot. I think your cars have kind of slightly kind of Sunday supplement what I do on a Sunday with Matt.
No, that's where you're wrong.
I take them for a drive.
Because I've started the other way around. I've started what rather than what car do I dream of, it's like what cars would I use and what's the best kind of cars for those. So wafting down the country lanes to the pub. There's driving fast down the country lanes to the pub.
To the pub.
and then driving in style to a pub in Monaco. That's
a very expensive pub. That would be a gastro pub with a Hamilton Mercedes, wouldn't it?
Gastro pub, that's it. Also, here's a question. What's your ultimate fantasy car? If you were going to pick one fantasy car, what is it? Let us know on our socials. We're at the Tyre Kickers UK on Insta and on Facebook with the Tyre Kickers, 3 separate words. So those are our favourite cars, and we do talk a lot about the cars we want, like in our occasional feature of See It, Want It, where you stumble across something classic in the classifieds or in a car show car park and immediately want it.
You go home, find every article about the car, every picture, buy the books, read the articles, scour YouTube, join the club, dedicate the next 2 years of your life to living and breathing that model. Is that just me?
Yeah, that is just you. Look, instead, what we're going to do is the reverse. What classic car have you seen lately that makes you go, ugh, I don't want it?
Now, I like pretty much all things Jaguar, except the strange luxury barge of the 1960s, the Jaguar Mark 10, or later the 420G. This was advanced with lots of E-Type technology, like independent rear suspension, inboard brakes, and the lovely 3.8 Jaguar 6. But it's just ugly, and I've seen a few of them, and I just can't like them. I saw one at a show about 6 months ago and walked up to it thinking, oh, I like this because it's a Jag. And then I got to it and thought, oh, this is just ugly. It's the Mark 10, so it's the kind of lower, flatter, bigger predecessor to the XJ6. It's on your screen now. This one's in wedding white. But these Mark 10s were just wrong. All the proportions about them are wrong. You can see the styling cues where Jaguar took it in the XJ6 and got it right. But this is where they got it wrong. Even William Lyons said it was too big. They're just a funny car, this, and I don't really like them at all.
It's like a fat Jag, isn't it, from the 70s, basically. It's basically gone on an all-inclusive and come back a bit wide around the sides. I mean, on paper, it should have the class of a 70s sort of XJ, shouldn't it? But it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit like a love child of a Rover P5 or something, and a Jag. It's sort of a bit bulbous in the corners. We're looking at this one in white. And so if you imagine a Jag XJ from the 70s and then look down the sides and imagine them sort of, as I say, a bit fatter, a bit flared out.
It's almost like they've shoved a bike pump up the exhaust and pumped it. And it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger until it's just become too big for the UK.
Yeah. Are you talking about me or the car? How rude. No, it's just, it doesn't have that. It's neither fish nor fowl, is it? It's not one thing or another. It's very, from the back, it's very old fashioned, very almost like early 60s, late 50s kind of look to it. And then at the front, it's sort of, it sort of starts modern and it goes old.
Then it just goes wrong.
Yeah, as you go through the car, it's modern at the front and sort of old looking at the back. But the proportions are odd, aren't they?
I wonder whether they were trying to design this for the American market because it's a very big car. But I tell you what, this went on to do. It didn't sell particularly well, but it went on to be the basis of the Daimler DS 420 limo. Now, you might remember that if ever a provincial mayor has driven past you in his chains of office, or a funeral from the 1980s, 1990s. They did that kind of like big Daimler that you could fit a top hat in. And that's what this kind of became. That was the inspiration. So that went down that direction for the Daimler. But then the XJ6 came along, which was just a perfect refinement of this design, because parts of this design are quite good. Certainly, technically, it's quite a good car. It's just the body was wrong. But it did get better. That's the best thing I can say about it.
So if you saw one for $5,000, you wouldn't get excited. It's just a no from you, is it? You're out.
Just a flat no. I've tried to like them, and I just can't.
All right. I can imagine you as a mayor in the back of one of those, though. Right, let's do one. Here's one from me. This one should tick all the boxes for me. I mean, it really should. I should like it. It's old, it's chrome bumpered, curvy lines, European, classic, that kind of thing. But it just leaves me cold. And I'm not sure why, so perhaps you can help me on this. I'll throw it up. It's a Porsche 356. And
what? Well, that leaves you cold. I can tell you what I know why that leaves you cold, because you're an idiot. That's a great car.
It just looks like a Beetle. It looks just, I don't know. Whenever I've seen them it doesn't look like a VW Beetle. It just looks like a Beetle. They're just low, and I don't know. They just leave me cold. I mean, this one we're looking at here is 1955 356 Pre-A 1500S Speedster. It's in black. All got all the right, sort of credibility about it. It's eligible for the right historic events. It's fitted with the kind of right engines, homologated, blah, 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 blah. But I just think, so what? 170,000 euros. And I think it just looks like something you put on a plinth. I don't really want to drive it.
This is a kind of automotive icon, and you've picked the Speedster. So it's the best of the best. I'm at a loss for words. Why you don't like that.
I don't understand, but it just does nothing for me. It literally is nothing. When I've seen them in the flesh, I've gone,
Maybe you're ill. Have you checked your blood pressure? I mean, are you still around? Is your heart still pumping?
I don't know what it is. It's the proportions. It's the how low it is. It just, I don't know. It just leaves me completely cold. I should like it. I mean, it's got a beautiful red interior. It is a classic. It's an icon, all that sort of stuff. But just like meh.
I think we're going to have to basically move on from that because you're so wrong. I can't even get into describing how wrong you are. It's kind of like beyond wrong, if that's possible. Now, like all things Rolls-Royce, I'm deep in a research period at the moment thinking about buying a Silver Shadow 2, but I don't really like the Silver Spirit, the Silver Shadow's successor. It's interesting, this. Well, interesting is relative when I start talking about cars. But I've tried to like the Silver Spirits for years, and I can't do it. They're cheap, they're plentiful, they drive better than a Shadow, but the boxy styling really puts me off. It's like an arranged marriage. It makes sense, it fits the bill, but there's no spark. So have a look at this one on your screen. It's a 1991 Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit 2 in beautiful blue. It just does everything. It ticks every box. It's royal blue, parchment hide. But I don't really like the Silver Spirit. So I think the headlights are a bit wrong. It's a bit ugly. It's a bit wide. It's a bit flat. Why don't I like that?
I don't like it because it is a modern classic. It's kind of not old enough to look cool. I think the thing I like about the Shadows is they look old, whereas this sort of just looks dated. It did get to that point in the 80s. It was all forward-looking, wasn't it? All design was forward-looking. It was sharp lines, sharp angles. And obviously in the late 80s, it became more about aerodynamics and, coefficient drag and all that sort of stuff. But anything 70s and 60s was seen as old, weren't they? I mean, you look at houses, you look at cars, that sort of stuff. All the design was pushing towards that. And I think if you look at this is reaching forward to try and be a 90s car rather than playing. I mean, it's not super 90s, but it's just a bit bland, isn't it? It's been blandized. It's been homogenized. You know when you used to have that milk that was the stripy red and silver one, which was
no.
Didn't you have that? Didn't you have that in Malvern? Oh, obviously that was obviously a.
Is this a Surrey thing?
It was a Surrey thing. You could choose between full fat milk, skim milk, which was disgusting. And this is a pre-runner to semi-skimmed, homogenized. Perhaps it did become just called.
No, I just got what I was given and no arguments.
Well, it was sort of neither one thing or another. But and this is a bit the same. It's just a bit. I don't know.
I think if we can move away from milk for a second, back to cars.
It's not my best analogy. I'll give you that.
The problem with these SZ series is they had all the bits from the Shadow. They had the 6.75 V8 from the Shadow. They had the GM 3-speed from the Shadow until about 91 when they changed it. They had the self-leveling suspension from the Shadow. But they gave the Shadow gormless headlights and charmless design and made it try to appeal to the Americans, a bit like that Mark 10. But it just didn't really work.
Gormless headlights is a good way to put it. A lot of these cars had that, and this is the problem I've got with Mercedes in the 90s as well. They went gormless headlights, and it's an old car that's been trying to tart it up for the modern age. And it wasn't really until Rolls-Royce reinvented themselves and started bringing those really modern new designs on that they became the head turners, and those will be the future classics. This, I don't know. I think this is just going to sort of languish a bit because while it's going to look more dated as the years go on, it's not ever going to look as classic as a 70s Rolls, is it? Although, actually, it is a lot of car, but I don't know.
It's a big Granada. I think that's my point about it. The Silver Shadow was unique. This is just a big Granada.
Well, we talked modern classics just there, so let's go to a modern classic now. And here's my other Room 101 Special Mags. Generally, as a category, I get shot down for this. Fast Fords. I don't get it.
Okay. Right.
Fast forwards, I don't get it. I did my driving test in an RS Turbo, and I still don't get it. But there's one particular car that just makes me do an Alan Partridge style shrug. It's like, here's a Capri. It's like, I don't get it. I don't mind a Mark 1. I think Mark 1s are quite classy if they're not fiddled around with, if they're kept original. But the later ones leave me colder than a Solero Max. I mean, here's a case in point. This is supposedly the last of the line, all bells and whistles, a 1988 Capri 280 Brooklands. But I'd rather go and look at the old planes in Brooklands than this. It just does nothing for me.
I'm with you on these because I think the Capri was just developed too far. It should have stopped about 10 years before this version in the Mark II. I think you're right. I feel the same about Capris. I feel like I should love them, and I do like Mark 1s like you, but this one is just the last of the line. Is just a bit. It's a run-out special, isn't it? They just threw everything at it to get the last body shells out of the factory. And you just think this was never really exciting when it was new. In 1988, the Capri was well past its sell-by date. But if you look at the 280, it just didn't have enough different things to be a nice car. They did that Ford classic of adding extra mirrors and seats and alloy wheels, but the core car was just a bit too old then.
Yeah, a friend described it to me. He said, there were a pin-up car because we would see them being driven around and we wanted one, but you didn't have the money. And then when you get the money, you buy one. And I think that's part of the drive behind the fast forward thing, isn't it? Is that, this renaissance in fast forwards and the big money they're going for is nostalgia. Nostalgia is a big thing. But I think for me, I was never wild about Capris anyway. When I was growing up, I never lusted over them. I was too, like you, I was too head in the book looking at, Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Alphas and, all that kind of Italian stuff. And then when we passed the driving test, I was phoning up to get quotes on Alfa Suds and Lancia Deltas and that sort of stuff. The Capri wasn't even in my thing. So as I've got older, it's not, and you get older and you get more nostalgic about things. I've not really got nostalgic about the Capri. It just looks like a Cortina, really. It's like a coupe Cortina, isn't it?
Do you know, I think the problem with this is that it was too achievable because you thought, when I grow up, I can afford an Alfa, a Lancia, like you said, maybe even a Ferrari. When you grow up, you can afford a Ford Capri. Well, they were so cheap when we were kids. I mean, you could buy them for like 25, 30, 40 quid. I'm not sure it's something you could aspire to. And I think that might have ruined the Capri magic.
I can't see a time where I'll ever really want a Capri. I can't see a circumstance where, and probably the same in the 356 as well. I mean, they're both very different cars, but both see it, don't want it.
You can get in touch with Max and Matt via our socials. We're at the Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and the Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
It's not just our 30th episode, huge bish bash bosh bash, but we have news from the world of download figures.
Yeah, well done for getting through that sentence. Dave in Audience Research has been on, Max. He's just typed out our latest download numbers, and we've hit 20,000 downloads, so 20,000 downloads. But here's the thing, in just 14 months of existence. That's pretty good. So thank you all for listening.
Can I dig out a sound effect?
Oh, do you have to? Go on then.
It also means we have to handwrite 20,000 letters of apology to people who downloaded this hoping to hear the Scratch and Sniff podcast.
Yeah, we're calling them Scratch and Sniff now. They're the number one podcast. That's their new name as far as we're concerned. Yeah, 20,000 listeners. Thank you very much for all of you for listening and keeping listening and spreading the word. That's how this grows. We've got no marketing budget to throw at this. We're not funded by anybody. We just do this for fun. We're not part of Gary Lineker's massive empire. Although if you do want to buy us, Gary, give us a shout. We're not sponsored by anybody. We're not. So we're doing this all to growing this show organically is the technical term. So thank you for supporting us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your ideas. Thank you for your interaction.
When you said it's just for fun, it reminds me of that phrase that you heard as a kid. If you weren't particularly good at sports, it's the taking part that matters.
Well, it's like a crap competition, isn't it? It's just for fun. Oh, where's the car you promised? Talking of Scratch and Sniff, Max, actually, we have got a new Apple Podcast review. I mean, they're number one, but we're getting the reviews. This is nice. thank you, Rumboy1977. He actually put better than Sniff. He says, this show, our show, is a great listen with a perfect mix of humour and car chat. And dare I say it, he says, it's much more engaging than the Scratch and Sniff offering. Keep it up, guys, but twice a week would be great. Twice a week?
Twice a week. At our age.
What with all our commitments?
Twice a month is lucky enough, trust me.
Don't forget, you can find us at the Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and the Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
Here are your thoughts about recent shows and topics from our social feeds. And kicking it off with Keith D'Souza. He said about episode 29, I had this downloaded and I was listening to it on the plane, but I fell asleep.
Charming.
Thanks,
Keith.
I'm going to have to listen to it all over again. Well, I think that's obviously when you start going off on one.
Yeah. In episode 29, we talked about crushing the eyesore of a convertible that was the Vauxhall Cavalier. Wolf Andy on Instagram was right behind us saying, average drive, cheap materials, no chrome, front-wheel drive. Do you need any more arguments for crushing?
Mr. Doberbenz on Insta reacted to our news that we'd hit 20,000 downloads by saying that we need some merch, Max, to celebrate. Now, I asked him, what does he suggest? He suggested coffee mugs, travel mugs, and a limited run of T-shirts.
We talked about the Triumph Spitfire being a great open-top classic on the last episode too, and we gave a shout-out to Johnny Triumph on Instagram, who posts great photos of his light blue Spitty.
Yeah, he dropped us a line to say, thanks for the mention. Talking about Spitfire, he said, scuttle shake aside, it's a great fun car for the summer blast when the occasion arises. He says he likes that he has to concentrate on driving the thing. For him, it's a form of well-being escape, focusing the mind on the drive, the road, the car surroundings. And he said they're so low and light, it really is a slow car, fast feeling. It's very true, isn't it? I mean, we talked about that in the last show, that you don't have to go very fast in a Spitfire to kind of feel it, do you?
No, you certainly feel it. Talking of Spitfires, Pat and a Peugeot on Insta said he likes Spitfires because they're cheap, enjoyable motoring. And he makes the good point that thanks to these, for around £4,000, you can get young people into British open-top motoring.
Yeah, which is kind of key, isn't it? Because that's what we did when we were younger. We bought bangers, didn't we? And, because they were cheap and got them insured cheap and that sort of stuff. So I think there's still a place for that. If you like Spitfires, by the way, and all things classic Triumph, then do check out our bonus episode that precedes this one. We go to a classic car track day with the Triumph TR Register Club to find out why TR owners like taking their cars to a track. They're really nice guys. It makes for a really good listen. It's a really interesting subject. So check it out and let us know what you think. Okay, you're listening to episode 30 of the Tyre Kickers. It's the big party episode. Max, go whoop.
Whoop.
Thank you. Car show season. Thank you.
Once more with enthusiasm.
Yes.
Whoop.
Car show season. Let's talk about that now. It's in full swing, or it's just about to be in full swing. So what are the P's and Q's, we were wondering, of going to a classic car meet and not making yourself look like a fool?
Now, is this where we slag off those owners who sit in fold-up camp chairs next to their car at a car show, angrily glaring at people who want to talk to them about their car?
Yes, and it's because you do exactly that thing that I want to try and help educate you in particular on the etiquette of being nice to people. I'm actually saying that. You don't take your cars to shows, do you?
I don't take them to
or?
exhibit because there's one reason for that, because you did it and you told me it was boring.
I didn't tell you that.
I
did go all the time.
No, but you...
No. So there's different types of shows. Let's qualify that, because there's two types of shows. There's what I call meets. I take my car to meets, so like breakfast meets. Okay. Like evening
I go to meets all the time, yeah, but I just don't talk to many people.
Yeah, the ones I don't like are the big organised shows where you have to get in at like 8 o'clock and then you park there and you're not allowed to leave. And there's a different atmosphere in that. We can kind of get into that. But let's talk about the etiquette, first of all, going to a meet or a car show.
Well, I think about this like somebody's kids. You never, ever can say to somebody, oh, your kids are a bit ugly, because, whatever the kids are, whether they're ugly or not, it's somebody's kids and they're their pride and joy. And it's the same about cars. I don't think you can ever criticize a car at a car show, because I heard somebody once being rude about a Morris Ital. Technically correct, but the owner was mortified because it was his pride and joy. And you think, he's gone to all that effort of saving an Ital, but he's put the effort in and he's taken it to a car show. So you can't be rude about it. And I think you have to appreciate every single classic car. We always slag off cars on this program. We love cars and we hate cars, but you have to appreciate every car that's ever been made, because we like cars. So you can never be rude about them. So that's my number one etiquette.
Yeah, I think otherwise, if you look down and patronise somebody in a Morris Ital, you deserve to be looked down and patronised by somebody in a shiny new Mercedes Pagoda or a Ferrari or something. But I think just talk to people, because you'll get much, much more enjoyment from it than just turning up and sitting in your chair and not talking to someone. Or parking.
Of which we see quite a lot, isn't it? That's our number one hate, people sitting in a chair next to their car, looking angry.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and this is why I don't like the big shows. It's because you're stuck in there, and so you do have to bring a fold up chair, and then if there's some people you bring the fold up chair and you sit in a group of four with them, and then that creates a barrier. And I find whenever I go up to someone and start talking to them about their car, I remember there was a Mercedes Pagoda at a show a couple of years ago that I went to, one of these big shows, and they were sat in the back of a group of four at the back of the car. And immediately there's a sort of a negative energy there. They don't want to talk to you. They're back to you. And I said to go, oh, how long have you had it? 8 years. And it was like that. And I just thought, you know what? I'll try, but you're not here for the right reason.
The other thing I always struggle with is people who put notices on their car saying, do not touch, do not touch, do not come near it. And then I see some people with those makeshift kind of ropes around their car, roping it off to make sure you can't get within 10 feet of it. And I do understand that, because you don't want fingerprints and scratches on your car. But at the same time, maybe you could be a bit more friendly than the don't touch. You could just stand there and say, oh, do you mind not doing that? Just careful with your kid and his ice cream and stuff. But it's the don't touch which really gets me, because I automatically just think, oh, walk past.
The other thing that bugs me at car shows, and I'm sort of guilty of this myself, is parking your car and walking away and then not coming back. Because, you're displaying it, but actually the fun is kind of talking to the owner and finding out what you've done with it. And, sometimes when you get into those stories, that's the interesting bit, because you see this beautiful MGA, for example, and then they tells the story of like, how they got it, and it was a wreck, and how they did it up, or, it's taken 8 years to do, or, they've had to redo this or redo that because it was a disaster, it nearly got scrapped, blah, blah. And you look at it and think, wow, okay, And that's a really good story. Or somebody says you only paid X for this. Well, did you? Okay. Go home, Google. I want one of those.
I want these.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think for me, it is the go if you want to talk to people and get involved. Don't go if you want to just park your car and be standoffish.
I think the other thing about these car shows is the car parks, because if you go away from the actual place where people are exhibiting cars and you go into the car parks, you can have a lot more of a kind of a friendly chat with people because you're just passing with them. And I think you can learn quite a lot from chatting at car shows with people, because you learn about the specs, their ownership experience, the cost, the things that go wrong, which is always a good one to ask people, and the specialists. And this is the meat and drink about owning a classic car or thinking about owning one, is going to these shows and just saying, what's it like? Does it break down? Is it quite good? Is there good specialists? I think there's a lot of knowledge there that we need to mine, because sometimes on the forums you just get lots of negative reviews about things, but actually face to face you can get a real sense of, is this car going to put a smile on my face like it's putting on his or her face?
So we're running low on jelly and Swarfega. That means it's coming towards the end of episode 30, our special bonus party episode.
Next episode is number 31, and that's just the bus between White City and Camden Town.
Bus spotter knowledge there, but instead of Route Masters, we'll discuss the Do-It-All Classic. If you could have only one car, what would be the perfect classic all-round daily driver solution?
Also, what do you miss about your classic when driving a modern car? And vice versa, what modern gadgets do you miss when out in the Hillman Husky?
It's not a Hillman Husky, it's an Alpine. Anyway, we also talk track cars. After my Triumph track day, what's the best way to race around the clock in a classic? That's next time. Don't forget to listen to our bonus episode about track days. But until then, don't get sad. We'll be back soon. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Lovely.
That was good.
I realised halfway through that script I haven't really woken up this morning yet.